Today we are going to start with Unit 5. Look at the title on page 68. If it hadn't happened, as usual, here we have the listen and discuss lesson. Before we start, we are going to read the objectives. The students will be able to discuss the top inventions. Here you realize that if you look at the page, you will find that they are going to be about inventions, the most important inventions of the world. Give a reason for a good invention. Decide a life regret according to a list. Ask about a life regret. Also use new expressions. Imagine the result of going back in the time to correct a mistake. These are the objectives of the lesson. Okay, now here, before we start, look at these two words. Now here we have a difference between a discovery and invention. The differences, who can read about the discovery? Who can read the, let us say, the definition? What is a discovery?
Discovery is recognizing something for the first time that already exists.
Now, what about the invention? The invention is what? Read.
Invention is creating something totally new with one's own ideas.
Good. You realize here, discovery, just, to recognize something for the first time, and, it is already exists. But, the invention is what? To create something totally new with one's own ideas. Okay. Now,
teacher, which page?
Page 86. 86. Now, what do we have here? What do these pictures represent? They represent what?
Can I answer?
Yeah. Yes, Anwar.
They represent inventions.
Good. These pictures, represent what inventions? For the first picture, it represents, the discovery of, or the invented of what?
The wheel.
The wheel. The second represent what? The invention of the
Plane.
airplane. Now, what about the third? Is Adnan?
Petroleum pumps.
Good. So here, discovering the oil in general. Good. Now, what about the next? Diya?
Invention of solar panels.
The invention of, solar panel or electricity, the light bulb. We have a lot of things here in this picture. Now, what about the next? You realize here we have the word penicillin. What is a penicillin? Penicillin. Yes, Adnan?
It's an antibiotic.
Yes,
Medicine.
Medicine, good. And the last picture represents what? The computer, the PC that we have, PC. Okay, now look at your books. Here again, we are going to talk about some of the most important inventions that we have. Inventions and discoveries that change, history. Who can read the title? Who can read the title?
Hi.
Yes.
Looking back, inventions and discoveries that changed history.
That's true. You will find, or you will discover, that these inventions are some of the inventions which change, the world, which change the history. Now, how many subtitles are there? How many subtitles are there?
Can I answer?
Yes.
There are 6.
Yes, we have 6 subtitles. The wheel, airplanes, oil, computers, electricity, penicillin. Now, how many pictures are there? Here we have.
I can.
Yes.
6.
6 pictures. Good. 6 pictures. The first one is a a picture of a wheel. The second is a picture of a airplane, etc. Now we will listen for the whole paragraph. Then we will ask you questions. Just to share the audio, please. 1 minute. Okay, listen.
Unit 5. If it hadn't happened. Pages 68 and 69. 1. Listen and discuss. Looking back. Inventions and discoveries that changed history. We often wonder if things might or could have been different. Would the world be a better place? What are the advantages or disadvantages of different inventions? The wheel. If the Sumerians hadn't invented the wheel in 5000 BCE, they couldn't have moved heavy loads. 6,000 years later, the Mayans and Incans in the Americas used the round shape in their architecture, but they had no wheels. Airplanes. If the Wright brothers hadn't invented the first successful airplane, people might still be traveling long distances on ships, and there wouldn't be as much contact among people on different continents. The Wright brothers first flew in an engine-propelled plane in 1903. Oil. If people hadn't discovered a lot of sources of oil, cars that run on gasoline wouldn't have become so common. The first commercial oil well drilled in North America was in Oil Springs, Ontario, Canada in 1858. Computers. If we didn't have computers, a lot of work would still be done with paper and pencil, and people in their homes wouldn't be able to be in contact with the entire world. The first PC was introduced by IBM in 1981. Electricity. If electricity hadn't been discovered, people would probably still be using candles or gas lights. Thomas Edison developed the first incandescent electric light bulb in 1879. Penicillin. If Dr. Alexander Fleming hadn't discovered penicillin in 1928, millions of people would have died from infections. However, the widespread use of penicillin as an antibiotic did not begin until the 1940s during World War II.
Okay. Now let's look at the first paragraph. What can you see in this picture?
A old wheel.
Can I say?
Yes, Abdullah, it is an old wheel. Yes, a wheel.
Yeah, that it maybe will be from a lot of 6,000 of year later.
Good. Now look at the second question. Who invented the wheels? According to the paragraph that we have here. Yes.
The Mayans and Incans in the Americas.
Got the Sumerians. Sumerians
Summary.
yes, Sumerians had, invented the wheels.
Teacher, no Sumerians. Sumerian.
Maybe, so, but we heard it Sumerians. Now we are going to hear it again. Thank you.
Okay.
And I think Sumerians lived in Iraq, the southern of Iraq, I think.
Yes, صح.
Okay, when?
Correct.
Yes, when did they invent the wheel?
Yeah, 6,000 years later.
5,000 BCE, before, the birth of Christ. BCE means before what? Before the birth of Christ. Okay. Now, what could happen? Who can read?
Can I?
Can I?
Yes, Adnan. Read the question, please.
What could happen if the Sumerians hadn't invented the wheel?
Good. What
Did
could
I
happen
answer?
if the Sumerians hadn't invented? Yes, answer.
They couldn't have moved heavy loads.
Yes, they wouldn't, or they couldn't, you know, let us say, move the heavy loads. Good. Good. Thank you. Now listen. Listen to the paragraph again. Historical civilization lived in the southern part of Iraq. Yes, this is about Sumerians. And what? Who can read the last question? What shape? Adia.
Okay. What shape did the Mayans and Incans use in their architecture? They used a round shape.
Good. They used the round shape. What shape did the Mayans and Incans use in their architecture? They used what the round shape. Listen again, please.
The wheel. If the Sumerians hadn't invented the wheel in 5000 BCE, they couldn't have moved heavy loads. 6,000 years later, the Mayans and Incans in the Americas used the round shape in their architecture, but they had no wheels.
Okay. Now here the Mayans. I think it is written here in your book. Who can read about the Mayans? Yes, Adnan.
A Native American people of the Yucatan area in Central America, who had a very advanced society in the 4th to 10th centuries AD. They are known for their art and their buildings, especially their pyramids.
Good. Now, what about, you know, the Incans? Who can read about them? Yes, read.
The Incans,
An
an ancient people who lived in Peru, South America, and who ruled a large area of the Andes Mountains from Ecuador to Chile until the Spanish arrived in the 16th century and destroyed their civilization. They are known especially for building impressive cities such as Machu Picchu, building roads, and having advanced methods of farming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is about, you know, the two nations. Okay, now let's move to the second paragraph. Here we are going to ask you about the airplanes. What can you see here in this picture? Yes, Anwar, what can you see?
An airplane.
Good, an airplane. Now, according to the paragraph, according to your experience, who invented the first successful airplane? Yes, Abdullah Fadi. Who invented the
Inventor,
first successful?
yeah,
The Wright brothers.
yeah, the Wright
Here we
brothers.
have two brothers. I, you know, didn't remember their names, but you know their family name is called Wright. The Wright brothers invented the first successful airplane. At the beginning, you know, they failed, but they
Yeah,
tried and tried.
at 1903.
1903, yes, the Wright brothers. Now, who can read the next
Can I read?
question? Yes, Ubada, read the question. What might happen?
What might happen if the Wright brothers hadn't invented the first successful airplane?
Good. Maybe, you know, people would still what? Travel using ships. Yes, good. People might still be traveling long distances on ships. And there wouldn't be, you know, as much contact among people on different continents. If they, you know, wouldn't, you know, let us say, invent, you know, the first successful airplane, people might be what, traveling on ships. Okay, who can read?
Indeed,
Yes, Adnan.
No,
if the Wright brothers hadn't invented the first successful airplane, people might still be traveling long distances on ships, and there wouldn't be as much contact among people on different continents. The Wright brothers first flew in an engine-propelled airplane in 1903.
Good. In 1903, good. Now listen, just listen.
Airplanes. If the Wright brothers hadn't invented the first successful airplane, people might still be traveling long distances on ships, and there wouldn't be as much contact among people on different continents. The Wright brothers first flew in an engine-propelled plane in 1903.
Okay. Okay, move to the next. Now what can you see here? What can you see?
Can I answer?
Yes.
A well.
Good. An oil well. Good. What do we use oil for? What do we use oil for?
Can I answer?
Yes, Dia.
We use it for cars to run, or factories, or machines.
A lot of things. Oil nowadays is, used in every part of our details in our life. Now, what would happen if people hadn't discovered, oil?
Can I answer?
Yes, Adnan. Sorry, Anwar.
That run on gasoline wouldn't have become so common.
Yes, wouldn't have become so common. Cars that run on, gasoline wouldn't be what have become so common. Good. Now, who can read the next? Who can read the next question? Yes.
Can I?
Ubada. Ubada.
Yes,
Read
Mr.
Read the question, please.
Where did the first commercial oil drill in North America?
Commercial oil drill in North America. Where did the first commercial oil drill?
1858.
Here we ask about the place here in Oil Springs, Ontario, Canada. When? In 1858. Good, thank you. Listen.
Oil. If people hadn't discovered a lot of sources of oil, cars that run on gasoline wouldn't have become so common. The first commercial oil well drilled in North America was in Oil Springs, Ontario, Canada in 1858.
Okay, move to the next paragraph. It would be about, the computers, yes. Now, what can you see here? What can you see in this picture?
Can I answer?
Can I?
Yes, Abdullah Fadi.
A boy trying to work on the computer.
Yes, here we have a boy using what? Laptop or computer. Now, what do we use computer for? Dia.
We use it for business or work.
Business, work, learning, teaching, surfing, etc. Recreation. So computer is used for many things, I think. Doing our work, learning, surfing the net, send messages, contact with others. Good. Can read the next question?
Can I?
Yes.
Can I?
Adnan.
What would happen if they hadn't invented computers? A lot of work would still be done with paper and pencil, and people in their homes wouldn't be able to be in contact with the entire world.
Good, thank you. A lot of work would still be done with paper and pencil. And, people in their homes wouldn't be able to be in contact with, entire world. When was the first PC introduced?
Can I answer?
Yalla, Abdullah Fadi.
Yeah, by IBM in 1981.
Good, in 1981 by, IBM company. Okay, listen.
Computers. If we didn't have computers, a lot of work would still be done with paper and pencil, and people in their homes wouldn't be able to be in contact with the entire world. The first PC was introduced by IBM in 1981.
Okay, let's move to the next, about the electricity. What can you see in the picture? Yes, Adnan?
So, the picture of Thomas Edison, who discovered electricity.
Thomas Edison, the one who discovered, electric bulb. Who is he? Thomas Edison. Now, what would happen if electricity hadn't been discovered?
Can I answer?
Yeah,
People would probably still be using candles or gas lights.
good. People would probably still be using candles or gas lights. Good. Now, what did Thomas Edison develop? What did he develop? Yes. وين علي؟
Can I-
علي الشرمان. Yes.
Can I? Or Ali?
يلا يا عبد.
Yeah, he developed the first
Incandescent.
yeah, electric light
Bulb. Yes.
bulb
When?
in 1879.
17. Thank you. Now listen.
Electricity. If electricity hadn't been discovered, people would probably still be using candles or gas lights. Thomas Edison developed the first incandescent electric light bulb in 1879.
Good. Okay. Now let's move to the last paragraph. It would be about what? Penicillin. What can you see in the picture?
Can I answer?
Yes.
Dr. Alexander Fleming.
Good. Fleming, Alexander Fleming. Who is he? Who is, Alexander Fleming? Yes. Anwar?
Can I answer?
Adnan?
Who is he? He is Dr. Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin.
Yes, the one who discovered penicillin. Good. What did he discover? Yes, he discovered the antibiotic penicillin. When? 1928. Now, what would happen if he hadn't discovered, penicillin? What would happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Millions of people would have died from infections.
Good. Millions of people would have died from infections. Good. When did, the widespread use of penicillin as, an antibiotic begin? In 1940s, during the Second World War. Listen, please.
Penicillin. If Dr. Alexander Fleming hadn't discovered penicillin in 1928, millions of people would have died from infections. However, the widespread use of penicillin as an antibiotic did not begin until the 1940s during World War II.
Good. Okay. Now move to the next page, on page 69. Here we have life's regrets. In other words, when we show or when we, appear our regrets for not doing, something in the past. At one time or another, we all look back and wish we had done things differently in our lives. Here we have examples for, the situations. Some of the situations you will realize that's true. We sometimes, show our regret not doing them. Listen.
Life's regrets. At one time or another, we all look back and wish we had done things differently in our lives. The following are some typical situations. Mark the ones you've said or done. Discuss with a partner. 1. If I'd studied harder, I would have passed that test. 2. I should have said what I thought about her hairstyle, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings. 3. I should have bought that thing last year. Now prices have gone up. 4. If I had been more careful, I would have avoided the accident. 5. I should have told the security guard that I saw someone breaking the lock. 6. If I'd known the trip was going to take so long, I would have taken another route. 7. Other afterthoughts?
Okay. You realize that some of these situations are really, used in our life. Sometimes we say, for example, if I had been more careful, I would have avoided the accident. I should have bought that thing last year. Now prices have gone out. So these are some of the life's regrets. Okay.
Life's regrets.
Now move to
Can
the
I,
first exercise.
can I
Quick
start?
check. Yes, match to form new words and experiences. Number 1,
Yeah. Oil.
oil. Yes, yeah, Abdullah Fadi.
Oil wheel.
Oil well.
Yeah.
Oil well. Number 2. Yes, Ubada. Ubada.
Yes, Mr.
Heavy what?
Heavily.
Heavy. Heavy load.
Load.
Good. Heavy load.
Some-
These two words come together and form a new meaning. Heavy load. Next.
Can I?
Yes.
Very good.
Then hairstyle. Anwar.
Oh, okay. Electric bulb. D.
Good. Electric bulb. Number 5. Ahmed Al-Hurani.
Yes, Mr. Security guard.
Security guard. Okay, now let's move to the sentences and say whether they are true or false. Number 1.
Pencil.
Adnan.
The Sumerians couldn't have carried heavy loads without the wheel. True.
Good. The Sumerians couldn't have carried heavy loads without the wheel. That's true. Number 2.
Can I answer?
Yes. Diya.
If it weren't for Fleming, many people would have died from infections. True.
Yes, that's true. Number 3. Anwar.
If it hadn't been for candles, there wouldn't be any electricity. False.
No, not for candles. Yes. For what? For Alexander. Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison.
Yes. Number 4.
Can I?
Yes, Abdullah.
People would still be traveling on ships if it weren't for airplanes.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, true.
The last one, Ahmed Hurani. Read number 5.
Yes, Mr. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The man who is unloading the truck should have studied harder.
Yes, on picture, the last picture on page 69. He said, I wish I'd been a better student. I should have listened to my mother and gone to college. Yes. The man who is unloading the truck should have studied harder. Okay. Now, go to your homework, please. Go to your homework, please.